The whole idea behind this exercise is to really help us understand where our strengths are, where our weaknesses are, and build our installation resilience so that we can survive a loss of electricity over a long period of time.
And this is Dabu 7. This exercise is called a Black Start exercise. And they're saying that this is going to help to test their backup power generation capabilities. And as the guy had just mentioned, he states that they may be without power for a prolonged period of time. So today, this is going in motion. This is a planned 8-hour installation-wide power outage that's going down. And it's going to affect people outside of the facility. They're saying that 85% of the facilities will have power back on after the first 2.5 hours of the exercise. But other areas are not. Some areas will continue receiving power within 30 minutes. Fort Carson officials here asking families to remain patient during the exercise. So, just a heads up here to this situation. This here shows once again that not only the military, government sectors, they're out here planning for a massive lights out situation. They have telegraphed this from the World Economic Forum, whether it's an EMP, whether it's a cyber attack, or just them flipping the switch. Let's not forget, last year, a record amount of substations attacked, over 125. Something huge is going on. Just saying. So this is the latest. Shoutouts to Tacos on this one. I'll leave links below. Make sure to hit that subscribe button for more. This has been Dabu 7.
Hey, Shalom, Makim, Shalom. First and foremost, I'd like to give all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, Hashem, Harakakadash. I'm about to give double honors unto the apostles and elders of Great Millstone and Ruel. Blessings and salutations to the hopeful elect. News in the gospel, brother, from the standard of Yahweh, Hashem, Yahweh Shai, wherever it may be. This is another video through the Spirit. It says lights out, blackout, or black starts exercise at Fort Carson will last 8 hours. Tests backup generator abilities. Okay, these tests that they're conducting is because they're getting prepared for the real ordeal. Okay, as we've been mentioning, and even the scriptures goes into darkness and blackouts that plague Egypt. So this is modern day Egypt, and you can expect the same plagues roundabout more. Okay, because we know that prophecy tends to repeat itself. Okay, especially that we're in the time of Yahweh Shai is coming. Okay, because the scriptures say that, behold, in the last days, perilous times shall come. And when you go into the word perilous, it goes into dark times, evil, challenging, scary, horrific times. You know, because overall, we are in a dark time, man. As we're seeing the love for one another go cold. We're seeing crime. We're seeing people being shot on sight. Okay, we're seeing all types of ill dealings done by the common people of Babylon the Great just because they're running out of hope. And this is the mental degradation of a society that's getting ready to fall, and it's falling rapidly. So us here teaching the truth and being part of this ministry, that's why we are set upon our watch to watch these things and these events and really warning the people and letting them know what's going to happen before it happens. And honestly, it's not even of us, it's of the Spirit of the Lord. Because honestly speaking, it's a spirit that compels us to go forth and do the work, which is the righteous spirit and the Holy Spirit of Yahweh Bashim, Yahweh Shai, for those of you that may want to know. Okay, so without further delay, I looked up, we know that it was 10 plagues in Egypt. Okay, and this is a chart here, and we went over this several times, but it's often good to revisit these particular lessons is because it's urgent, and on top of that, this is future prophecy. Okay, which any day now. Okay, because like I mentioned, even last week, somehow the utility companies was in the area, but they was doing blackouts over here before before they even was set to do it. Like our whole apartment complex went dark for like 15 minutes, which is nothing compared to the real deal. Because you got to look at the other aspect too. That's the physical side. But what about the spiritual aspect of it? What about the different demons that's going to plague this place? Okay, the spirits that the Most High is going to allow to harbor this planet Earth. Okay, because they go into intergalactic realms and so forth. The gate between this world and the next, being a spiritual world, is rather yet a small thin veil, and you can feel it. Okay, every day you can feel that the Most High is allowing things to happen because we're in that time. You know, so while you're having physical military action, you're having rise of the people. Hey, America, remember, is a big graveyard. It's hunted. Okay, pretty much every square inch of this goddamn society of this country has some bloodshed through the Native Americans and Latinos and Negroes. Okay, our blood, our ashes was scattered among this land. And the Most High is going to allow those spirits, okay, those spirits or those familiar spirits to bring plagues upon this place, man. Why? Because, shit, Yahweh Shai, man, this is his will. Okay? So, these supernatural plagues, which could be brought on by natural means, but nonetheless supernatural because they're from on high. It says the waters turn to blood, which that's an eerie sight. Okay? The frogs, which they call what is it? Amphibians. Let me see how to pronounce that. Oh, okay. Amphibians or amphibians. Okay, which is the frogs. You got gnats, which is lice, and you have a big plague of gnats here in America. Like they have what they call biting midges or no-see-ums. I was breaking down the no-see-ums to people. They thought I was bullshit. I said, no, no-see-ums are basically biting flies, or they call punkies, or it's another word they call sandflies, man. They're basically small gnats that you can barely see. It's like they almost camouflage with the rays of light, so you can't really see them. They're very small, but they bite. Okay, and they're very meticulous, and they're pests, and they thrive. They're basically like baby mosquitoes. You know, sometimes you think you're going crazy because you feel something biting you, but you don't see it. So they constantly feast on you, and the migration rate of these particular gnats is I mean, shit, man. They can populate within a month. They can lay fucking thousands of eggs in your house or your drains, and before you know it, you got a whole infestation. That's a plague. Okay, flies, which big black flies. I've been seeing big black flies, man. You know, flying around the hallway. You know what I'm saying? Flying around, and just different types of insects. Okay, it says diseases on livestock. I believe it was about a week ago. I believe it was like so many thousands of cows or cattle that was set ablaze, I believe, and they were killed, and then they're finding other animals mutilated and dispersed among these farmlands. All right, then you got the boils, which that's that's from the you know what. You can expect to see that. You got hell and fire. Shit, we had a hailstorm last week here in Kansas City, Missouri. Then a few years ago back in California, you had a fire tornado. Then you got the locusts. Remember the locusts descended upon Las Vegas a few years ago. Okay. Then darkness, which these rolling blackouts. But in this case, it's going to be more of a fourth dimensional sense, like a fourth dimensional darkness. Yeah, you may have the sun and the moon out, but nonetheless, those apparitions are going to plague that, man. Or they're going to pretty much put a cloak upon that, because you're not going to be able to see, or the sun and the moon, or the moon itself won't be able to give out the light you need to sustain yourself, man. You know, like I believe it was in, forgot what country was that overseas, but basically it was like some type of smog storm or some type of smoke, or like a lot of smog in the air, what appears to pretty much block out the sun. And literally, I believe it was like middle of noon, middle day or something like that, and this black smoke and this black fog from whatever weather conditions, whether man-made or spiritual, whatever. Basically, it appeared to be night in the middle of the broad daylight, and it literally looked like twilight, like midnight. It was like a dark veil that covered the sky. You know what I'm saying? And then you get death of firstborn, which, you know, during the time of the Passover, the Most High smote the firstborn of those Egyptians, even of their livestock. So these plagues we're experiencing them now, but they're going to come to a time that they're going to be noticeable. Okay, instead of people saying, "Oh, this happened all the time." No, they're going to be noticeable. Okay, because the plague of darkness, which we're going to get into, that's one that's it stands out, because when you read in Wisdom of Solomon, the 17th chapter, it goes into how they was plagued by apparitions, demons. And we know how apparitions are. We know how the left-hand side operates, the spirit and power of Yahweh Hashem Yahweh Shai. It's rather terrifying, man. And it's something, honestly, you don't really want to deal with, because the Portuguese fucking with you, that's a whole different type of spirit, man. You know, and the Lord is going to give these demons and these spirits control to start fucking people up. Okay, just to put it in layman's terms. So this is Exodus 10:1. It says, and the Lord said unto Moses, go unto Pharaoh, for I have hardened his heart and his heart of his servants, that I may show these my signs before them. And the modern day Pharaoh is none other than Esau, Edom. Okay, Esau's heart is hardened because of his pride. Okay, starting with his military and the fact that he's able to put nations in subjection and have them to do his will. So therefore Esau is hardened. And on top of that, he's taken down the children of Israel, which is us. And there has been any recompense for that as of yet. So in the back of Esau's mind, he's like, look, man, if the Most High ain't do nothing to me, can't nothing do. Because the scriptures even tell you, it says that the Most High don't see, neither have he remembered, roughly paraphrasing it. It's in the book of Psalms, I believe. But basically, how he's gotten away with afflicting our people, he feel like the Most High is just like said, okay, it's cool. But no, he don't understand that the Lord is getting ready to judge his ass. And it says, and that thou mayest tell in the ears of thy sons and thy sons' sons what things I have wrought in Egypt, and my signs which I have done among them, that you may know how that I am the Lord. And you know what's so funny about that? We're talking about it now. Okay, these particular plagues that was written over 4,000 years ago, recorded, we're talking about them today because, you know, the time of the first Exodus, which was the significance of our first captivity as a nation, and the deliverance was rather significant. But this Exodus, the second Egypt from America, is going to put that particular deliverance to naught. Because this deliverance is going to be through chariots and with fire and brimstone and laser beams and all sorts of plagues happening. Like the Lord is going to bring a total halt to the to the stability of this society, man. Okay, it's going to be plagued on all sides, man. From the weather, from the jobs, from the people. The people are already plagued because of their minds. And it says that Moses said it to Aaron, come into Pharaoh and said it to him, thus says the Lord, power of the Hebrews, how long wilt thou refuse to humble thyself before me and let my people go that they may serve me? Right? And that was a question because Pharaoh refused to let us go because the Most High put a hardened spirit on him so the Lord can show his power. And that's the only reason why Esau is being pumped up, or the reason why Esau have this pompous spirit on him is because the Lord allowed him to be pumped up. He allowed him to do that. So the Lord can be justified on showing the world his power by taking down this so-called white man, which is gonna be a sight, boy. It says, else if thou refuse to let my people go, behold, tomorrow I will bring locusts into thy coast. Okay, and it repeats itself because basically the Lord said, well, look, if you don't do X, Y, and Z, then this is what's gonna happen. Okay, so verse 21, it says, and the Lord said unto Moses, stretch out thy hand towards heaven, that there may be darkness over the land of Egypt, even darkness which may be felt. Okay, and I don't know if you brothers know what darkness feel like, but it's two different, it's more than one way we can put this into layman's terms. I mean, sometimes you can go so far in the dark to the point you feel it, okay, when nothing is around you. Your senses are trying to pick up on whatever it can grasp itself to regain your stability and consciousness, man. But you go so far in the abyss, your body starts to go into like a fail-safe mode. You can feel that. Okay, literally, if you try to put your hand before your face and you can't see it, that's like you in a veil, some goddamn. It's like you in a void, you know. And the crazy part about it is, I remember I was doing some construction work in the inside of this hospital. It was indoor construction. It was years ago, and we had to set up in a mortuary downstairs, which is unclean. You saw old blood stains, and they had a lot of this old gear from the old Ebola and stuff like that, like the face masks, like literally looked like they was preparing for outbreak. They had all this equipment, and I may even still have it recorded somewhere in one of my accounts. I just have to pull up the pictures and the video, but I got like a little 30-second footage of the face masks and goggles and, you know, the PPE and the shit they use. Basically what they did 2-3 years ago, they was talking about back in 2014. Got footage of that. But anyway, we was working down in a mortuary, and it was pretty much decommissioned. So we was said to go up to the 3rd floor to find out what was up there. And when I went up there, it felt like a haunted house, man. Because we know in hospitals, there's all types of unclean spirits, death, okay, people with mental illness. And this may have been the old psych ward, if I'm not mistaken. But as soon as we got the elevator, it was literally pitch black with a few lights zipping in. And like, you know how when the light bulbs are getting ready to go out, they're flickering. We saw a couple of flickering lights in the hallway, but everything else was pitch black. So we was to go into this corridor, this room, and the room was so dark to the point as we were walking through the room, you can literally feel almost like you were floating. It felt like we were almost going into a portal, and we were like, nah, it ain't no point in going this far. But we was to make it to the other side, because in that corridor, in that room, you could see another room down there, and it had light from outside. So we was to make it to the other side. But I believe my supervisor, if I can recall, specified like, well, it ain't shit up here. Let's just go back downstairs. And that was the Lord, man, because ain't no telling what was in the dark. Ain't no telling what type of spirit or what type of apparition or anything. You know, and you may say, well, you probably just bugging out. Well, I mean, you know, everything happens for a reason, but I believe in the supernatural. It's very real. Okay, I mean, look at us, man. We're spirits, okay? We're angels in the flesh. And all types of crazy shit happens, man. Like these movies, Evil Dead, that shit don't come out of nobody's imagination, man. People make these things up because they're surrounded in truth. And I will say a lot of it is you can imagine it, but when you can imagine something, it's because it comes from a form of truth. Or the Most High puts it in your spirit for them horde directors to make that shit to show what the Lord really has, man. You know, just a long story short. And another one, too, is feeling the darkness, those apparitions, you know, those spirits plaguing you. But it says, and Moses stretched forth his hand towards heaven, and there was a thick darkness in all the land of Egypt 3 days. And they saw not one another, neither rose any from his place for 3 days. But all the children of Israel had light in their dwelling places. Now, it was a story to this now, okay? Moses wrote about it, but it went into detail on what happened in Wisdom of Solomon. You know, because you were like, okay, well, they just sat there in the dark. No, it was some shit. They were being plagued. The Lord put hell on these Egyptians, man. It says he sent evil angels among them, which is spirits, man, apparitions. You know, so that's when Pharaoh was like, you know what, you got to get the hell up out of here. Y'all doing too much. Whoever this Yahweh is, man, Elishadiyah, we got to go. Okay, Elishadiyah, which means terrible like power, terrible demon like power. All right. But we going to be straight in these times because the Lord is going to sustain us, you know. Wisdom of Solomon 18:1. Nevertheless, thy saint had a very great light. Their saints had a very great light, whose voice they hearing and not seeing their shape, because they also had not suffered the same things. They counted them happy, right? Because we didn't go through half of the shit that they went through. Now, we had light in our dwelling places, but also, you know, we had the spirit of the Most High with us too. And we had the Lord's prophets, Moses, Aaron, okay? So we was all good. It says, but for that they did not turn them. It says, but for that they did not hurt them now, of whom they had been wronged before. And how was we wrong? Through slavery. You know, they thanked them and besought them pardon for that they had been enemies, man. So basically they was like, look, we sorry for afflicting you, but y'all got to get the hell up out of our land, you know. And instead, whereas thou givest them a burning pillar of fire, both to be a guide of the unknown journey, which was through the wilderness, and the harmless sun to entertain them honorably, for they were worthy to be deprived of light and imprisoned in darkness, who had kept thy son shut up, by whom the uncorrupt light of the law was to be given into the world, man. Okay, so going here, Wisdom of Solomon 17:1. It says, for great are thy judgments and cannot be expressed. Therefore unnurtured souls have erred, but for righteousness men have thought to oppress the holy nation. They being shut up in their houses, the holy nation is us. It says, the prisoners of darkness and feathered with the bonds of a long night lay their exile from the eternal providence. While they were supposed to have lie hid in their secret sins, they were scattered under a dark veil of forgetfulness, man, meaning they was being plagued in the mind as well, being horribly astonished and troubled with strange apparitions, man. For neither might the corner that held them keep them from fear, meaning they was balled up in balls and shit. They was hiding. It's like a horror movie. This is basically a horror movie. But noises as of water falling down sounded about them, and sad visions appeared unto them with heavy countenance, man. And this is where they get the concept of a haunted house from. If you ever went to a haunted house, if you read this chapter, this is where they get a lot of the props from, man. You know? And it says here, no power of the fire may give them light. Neither could bright flames of the stars even endure to lighten that horrible night. Meaning the light that they did have, it was still horrific. They were still being plagued. The only that appeared unto them a fire kindled of itself. Very dreadful. For being much terrified, they thought the things which they saw to be worse than the things they saw not. As for the illusions of art magic, they were put down, and their vaunting in wisdom was reproved with disgrace, meaning that witchcraft didn't work. Okay, it's like, yeah, sure. Remember when Moses commanded the staff to become the serpent, and then Pharaoh's Magi's did the same thing? Same case. But it says, but for this, they promised to drive away terrors and troubles from the sick souls, were sick themselves of fear, worthy to be laughed at. It says, for though no terrible thing did fear them, yet being scared with beasts that passed by and the hissing of serpents, and they died for fear, denying that they saw the air, which could no one side be avoided, man. Okay. And this whole chapter is really good. We're going down to 21. Over them only was spread a heavy night, an image of that darkness which shall afterwards receive them, but yet they were unto themselves more grievous than the darkness, meaning their own minds was fucking with them, man. Okay, though it was dark and they was being played, it was just the fact that the apparitions that they were being played with was more horrific than the night itself, man. That's what is going into the darkness. Not only the physical darkness, but a darkness you can feel that is being played with those spirits, man. You know what I'm saying? So, hey, man, using your imagination, the Lord ain't nothing to jeff around with, you know, because, hey, the time that's coming to Babylon is way worse or way more offensive kingdom than Egypt ever was. So just imagine the type of plagues the Lord is going to bring here, and especially with all the bloodshed of the Native American Indians. This place is getting ready to see judgment beyond no other. I mean, unfathomable horror. I'll say it that way. Horror you can't even imagine is getting ready to be released on the streets of America, man. So, hey, brothers, just gird up, man. It's coming. You know. Last precept, Psalm 78:49. It says, he cast upon them the fierceness of his anger, wrath and indignation, and trouble by sending evil angels among them. Evil angels, demons, spirits, apparitions. He made a way to his anger, and he spared not their soul from death, but gave their life over to the pestilence, and smote all the firstborn in Egypt, and the chief of their strength in the tabernacles of Ham, man. So yeah, giving all praises and glory and honor that's due to Yahweh, Ba'ashem Yahweh Shai, and with that, Shalom and a Baba Ball.